Welcome to Cordkillers. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we are just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, where's the good stuff?
My goodness, Tom, I really wish I had an answer for you.
Please, one of these weeks. One of these weeks.
Like 1 week, I'm just going to be all like, it's in this box.
I found it.
It's Riddle 3.
I was at Academy, and they had a sale. Listen, that whole point of Cordkillers these days is finding the good stuff to watch. And the whole episode, Brian, if I may, is kind of like a part of that box that we open a little more of every week.
Yeah. What are you going to spill our whole secrets? It's like,
not at once. No, heck no.
Spoiler alert. We'll never find the man with one arm. We're never going to find the man in black. We're just going to keep on chasing them.
But we are going to take you on a supply run.
Supply run.
William Joel has an article up on The Verge called "Dear Roku, You Ruined My TV." The subtitle is "A recent update seemingly added motion smoothing with no way to turn it off, and I am losing my mind." Brian, you know what motion smoothing is, sometimes called filmmaker mode, which I think is a misnomer.
According to some people, it's causing your stream to look better. But do you know it or not?
It's generally accepted that it does improve sports, that it improves action stuff. So if you turn it on for the basketball game, you won't notice it. It'll just make things smoother. It'll make things look better. It adds pixels to video so that the motion, as the name implies, is smoother. When you have lots of fast action, that makes it look more natural. When you are watching something that you have been trained by all of humanity for decades to see in 24p, it looks cheap to a lot of people. It looks like it was made for TV, not film, even though, as you said, it's technically higher quality because there's more pixels there.
Well, and it's one of those things where it's like we associate it with a inferior quality of format. But by the numbers, you are getting a smoother picture, right?
Yep,
you are getting a more realistic representation of whatever it is you're seeing. Now, in the case of sports, it looks more like you're actually there for the sports, which is good for sports because it feels like you're more actually there for the sports. When it comes to, let's say, soap operas, it feels more like you're there in the room with people who are phoning it in on a Tuesday afternoon. This one's tough because you and I think at various times have been very, very rough on this format and very, very rough on the excellence of its interpolation to make you feel like you're watching a worse format than what we associate with high quality film quality, like 24 frames per second.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say, though, that most people would welcome a setting, say one called Roku Smart Picture, that would automatically improve picture quality dynamically as you stream? In other words, when you're watching sports, it turns on the motion smoothing because it looks good. When you're watching a classic movie, it doesn't. Yeah, Cool Hand Luke. You don't want the motion smoothing on. I would suspect that most people are like, yeah, that sounds great as long as it works. The problem is Roku turned this on. There's no way to turn it off. And it, for some people, and no one knows exactly why, it turned on motion smoothing for everything. And you had no way to turn it off.
I may surprise a few people by saying this, Tom, but first of all, I personally hate any of this upscaling. I hate all of it, but I'm also aware that really all I'm doing is leaning into my pre-established biases, and knowing that, it almost makes me want to be more forgiving of them having done this. Like, it could be that it's not the system that's broken. It could be me. And when I consider that, I encounter uncomfortable positions like, what if it's okay that it's smoother and more realistic and all that? And what if the flaws are in me, not in the format?
I think that's all fine. That's very admirable to confront this, because in practice, I think you're kind of right. Like, it's our training that makes us think it's inferior, not any inherent inferiority. But shouldn't I have a chance to turn it off if I don't want it?
So, okay, all right, let's play.
Because this is a bug. Roku Smart Picture is supposed to automatically turn it on and off for you, but you should be able to turn off Roku Smart Picture then, right?
So this is one of my favorite games where we give away advice for free. Let's say that we've been hired for $0 to advise Roku on how to do this. How would we couch this decision point? Should we patronizingly explain, hey, you're encountering upscaling. Would you like it or not? The benefit is you're going to get a smoother presentation, but the downside is it'll be less like the original quality.
I don't think that's even addressing the problem. The problem is they turned on Smart Picture, not motion smoothing, Smart Picture for everyone, and it broke. And there's no way to turn it off. Like, if I were to advise Roku in your scenario, I would say, hey, make sure there's a setting where I can turn this off.
I would, this might surprise you. I would back away and just wait and see how many complaints you get.
A lot. You've gotten a lot. Reddit is filled with them.
Reddit. Come on. Tom, is that really your counselor? I would advise you to look again.
So you're saying it's good that they don't give you a way to turn it off if you don't like it.
I'm not saying that.
That's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, Tom, of all of your witnesses to call to the stand first, Reddit.
Well, my star witness is William Joel of The Verge, who wrote a very popular article about his personal complaint about this. I think it's pretty clear cut that this is broken and they need to push a fix. I think you're right that it's probably a vocal minority who are mad about it, because it doesn't seem to affect everyone. It's just some people in some situations, and it's hard to tell what those situations are. But it is just good practice in everything to make it opt-in, not opt-out, if you can, and to give people the control so they can opt out even if you've opted them in. And Roku did neither. They made it they made it no opt and no way to opt out.
So let me ask you this, Tom. Have you caught yourself in the same position I've caught myself in that you discovered that you had not really noticed whether or not it was upscaled or not?
Personally, yeah. So there's the principle I'm upholding, and then there's the personal. Personally, I actually don't really. I'm a total heretic. I don't really mind motion smoothing. It doesn't really bother me. Yeah.
Same page.
But I understand and I empathize with those who are really bothered by it, and I believe they should have the right to turn it off.
I agree. However, there's definitely been like 40 minutes that I've been sitting at Casino El Camino watching some horror movie, and it was only 40 minutes in there. I'm like, wow, they're doing the upsampling thing.
My father-in-law had it on constantly, and I remember watching an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I could not put my finger on why it looked weird until I said something. And my sister-in-law was like, oh, because he's got the stupid motion smoothing on and he won't turn it off. He likes it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think it was awful. It just looked unusual. It was weird. Yeah.
There is a weird kind of...
Lawn Mix says, this is a hill I will rest on.
not die on, but I'll take a nap on it.
But yeah, we'll just, sit down, take a load off. Yeah.
It is one of those wonderful, curious middle grounds. And so it's like I'm grumbly about it, but not mad at it. I don't know. Where are you on this?
I am more offended that there's not a way to turn it off than that it's on, right? To me, it's fine that it's on. I could live with it if it happened to my TV, I'll be honest. But I'd be really upset that I couldn't turn it off, right? It's more of having the option than anything. And I know a lot of people in our audience are like, you two are nuts. Motion smoothing is the devil, and Roku is evil for not giving me a way to turn it off.
There was definitely a time that nobody was punching harder than you and I on this particular issue. But now we're just tired of punching. We're just tired.
we're at the top of that hill, and we're just taking
like,
our ease.
Oh, whatever, you're gonna show a smoother emotion. All right, that's it. Let me just
smooth, I say. You know what else is smooth? The way people support us at patreon.com/cordkillers. It's really smooths out this operation.
Oh, no, Tom. Everybody says this. They say it's easy to support independent creators. You and I both know that's not true. It's hard as heck. There's no possible way. Name one way that it's possible for everybody to keep us loud, live, and independent while getting the best of cordkillers.com.
You mean another way besides Patreon?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this.
Patreon. It's the thing that I just mentioned before you said name one way. It's patreon.com/cordkillers.
Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon. Yeah. Like
okay.
Pat, REON. Patreon. Yeah.
Okay. And so what do? They own all of our stuff, and they
they just collect money on our behalf, and they give us 90%, more than 90% of it.
90%, is that high or low?
Apple only gives you 70%. Twitch gives you like 50%.
Yeah.
YouTube gives you like 50-60%.
Okay. And so 90% is better than those.
I am not a math scientist.
Okay.
But I've been told 90 is bigger than those.
Surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman. I'm just saying. Are you? Do you mean to tell me?
I'm going to consult my reference. Yes, 90 is bigger than those numbers.
Well, it seems to me like everybody who appreciates our stuff should go to patreon.com/cordkillers. They should give us, I don't know, what, $1 an episode? That's not too much. $2 an episode? That's about reasonable.
Yeah, whatever.
An episode would be downright responsible.
Don't put a limit on it, is what Brian's saying.
Well, not only will you get early access to the full experience, but on top of that, you will get exclusive access to our after talk segments where we give all the real show. Everything you're hearing, not the real show. Thing you'll hear, the real show.
Yeah. You'll get behind the scenes. You'll get to hear us pick the next full experience. We're going to spoil the bear on After Talk. So if you missed the old spoiler in time, that's where it is. Go get it at patreon.com/cordkillers.
Heck yeah.
And now on to the search party. There is a trailer out for Agatha All Along coming to Disney Plus on September 18th. This is the spin-off series from WandaVision with Agatha Harkness in the lead role. And this trailer has a direct connection to WandaVision. It shows Agatha kind of redoing the WandaVision shtick where she's imagining herself stuck in a TV show.
Well, and specifically, maybe you know more about the behind the scenes than I do.
I don't think I do, but yeah.
But I love that idea that some aspect of it is kind of trapped in that matrix of remembered, post 100 years of television and so on. I loved this trailer. I hope my family loved it because I force fed it to all of them. I love everything about it, and I'm almost scared to speculate on how it's going to go.
It's the first Agatha trailer, and we've only really seen teasers. So this is the most we've seen, but it definitely made me feel for the first time that I wanted to watch Agatha All Along. And in ways there were other things were like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. This made me intrigued. This made me want to see what that story is. We get the first 2 episodes. They're doing that with this one, giving us 2 episodes on September 18th, and it comes out weekly after that.
Well, and keep in mind, you and I both know that I'm a huge, huge fan of things that pretend to be one thing but are secretly something else. The idea of something that pretends to be a police procedural or a detective procedural but is secretly a MCU thing, chef's kiss. I'm totally into it. I hope they do right by it.
Ryan Reynolds revealed that he and Hugh Jackman are the besties of friends, and they want to do more movies together, quote unquote, soon. And that they intend their next movie together to not be a superhero movie. In fact, Reynolds told Entertainment Weekly, "We have one we're looking to do."
I want so bad to like just poop all over this, like, oh, breaking news.
Go for it, man. Don't hold back.
Friends,
poop on it.
Whatever.
That's what my dog would do.
Spoiler alert. Tom Merritt and Brian Brushwood are good friends and would like to do a thing. Whatever. However, they're so adorable. Ryan Reynolds, and like whatever he does seems to be adorable. And I don't care if they're going to open a whiskey bar together or anything. It's like whatever it is.
I would love that. I would go to that bar.
I'm here for that.
Yeah. These two have been promoting Deadpool all over the place. This is something that I don't expect that everyone will have noticed or care as much as I do about, but I think it's worth telling as part of this. They appeared at the Water Bomb concert in Seoul. They were doing their promotional tour in Seoul, South Korea. Water Bomb is a yearly university festival thing where everybody brings water guns and, musicians come out and perform, and they have to wear swimsuits because everybody's shooting water at each other the whole time. They just went on stage and got shot with water and shot water into the crowd to promote Deadpool. Like, they're just going around having fun. They appeared on a music show and introduced the 2 top videos that were up to win the music show that week, not knowing really anything about the music show. Like, they are going all out, and it's both of them together, just having a blast.
Every so often, Tom, I get the sense that some people are winning so hard at life that they could just be filled with joy, and that's okay. And that's definitely how I feel about Hugh Jackman and about Rob McElhenney and about Ryan Reynolds. I don't know, like God bless.
Real Good, REELGOOD, is something we've mentioned before on the show years ago, I think. It's one of those services that tries to aggregate all of your streaming services in one app so that you don't have to switch between apps and remember which app has what shows. You just pick a show and you go through it and you do it. These are always somewhat limited by the operating system they're on. So they work different levels of depending on whether you're on Apple TV or Android or Google TV or Roku or whatever. But they do have a lot of users, and they have started putting out streaming charts. So I don't know how reliable these numbers are, but according to Real Good, The Bear beat its season 1 numbers and is the number 1 overall streaming show this past week, June 27th through July 3rd, followed by Presumed Innocent. I don't know. I've been hearing some buzz about that on Apple TV Plus. A Family Affair, which is Nicole Kidman's series on Netflix, and The Boys in 4th place. So I thought it was kind of interesting to see these. Actually, A Family Affair, I think, is a movie, but still.
So previously, when we've talked about these top 10 lists of popularity, it's been in the context of like who's making money on them, where are the ad dollars going, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there's part of me that very fondly goes back to being a 7th, 8th grader and just knowing what's popular or what, like when these lists come out, who do you feel like is being served? Is it the I don't know, us, the consumer, just by knowing like we're in the cool crowd for liking the same thing as other people, or is it all crass consumerism?
Yeah, I know Real Good sells its data to the streaming services. So this is partly promoting that. So if you're Hulu and you see the bear is at the top, you're more likely to feel good about like, let's get some data from Real Good. But I also think it does help the viewers get interested in Real Good, because if you're a fan of Presumed Innocent and you see it's number 2 on the chart, you'll be like, oh, I feel validated in my choice. I chose a thing that's got quality, the quality of popularity. And then maybe you're like, hey, this Real Good thing, that seems interesting. They seem to know what's up. I could get this in my app all the time. Feels like those are the 2 main motivations here.
Well, and on top of that, last week, we were late because I was ill, and then I called you, and I was a little bit sheepish and shy to ask you, "Hey, Tom, I've been asleep for 4 days. What's a good thing to watch?" and so in that regard, if you're just going to leap in out of nowhere, you might as well pick something that looks like it's pretty good.
Yeah. In fact, let's talk about what you picked in Buried Treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
So I gave you 2 options, one of which was The Bear, the number 1 streaming show. And the other I said was, you might try The Acolyte. Here's what I think you'll like. Here's what I think you won't like. What did you end up going with?
I ended up going with The Bear. Longtime listeners will remember that the only reason I stopped, we were very early on The Bear, but the reason I backed away was because one of the themes in the first 3 episodes very clearly was about addiction, the loss of a brother. And for those of you who don't know, I lost my brother to addiction. And it was around the time that the main character goes to Al-Anon that I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm ready for this. And so I backed away. 2 years later, however, oh my goodness, Tom, The Bear is great. The Bear is I don't want to say an inverse, but maybe a mirror image of Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso was pure joy and team-based positivity at a time that nobody knew that they needed those things. And so as a result, it was a delight and a joy. The Bear, taking place 2 years later, like in the very first season, they say, hey, how do you think we got through COVID, my friend? And it's a little bit of a reckoning of how all of us got through that very difficult time. And again, if you're a longtime listener, you've heard in after talk that we my brother was one of those so-called deaths of despair. But this show's great, Tom. It's great. It's great and healing and wonderful and joyous. And it is a showcase for such incredible, incredible talent.
And you got through what, all of season 1 and part into season 2 now?
I'm almost done with season 2.
Okay.
And I found out that my daughter has cheated on me and gotten all the way up to almost season 3. But it's just great. And it starts from, how can I put this? Ted Lasso begins from a place of cartoonish joy in the middle of pain.
Mm-hmm.
This starts in a place of pain and brings you to a place of cartoonish joy. It's truly delightful in a surprising, grungeful way. I wish I had better words to describe it.
No, it's
I've
tough.
liked it a lot.
Did you see the Seven Fishes episode, the Christmas one, the flashback?
The Christmas one, I was confused why it was so highly rated on IMDb. And then I figured out who everyone was. And I was like, oh my God, that was definitely Oliver Platt. That was definitely Jamie Lee Curtis. That was definitely like
Bob Odenkirk.
That was definitely Bob Odenkirk. It blew my mind, and I liked it despite itself.
Uh-huh.
like the whole point of the episode was for me to not have a good time, but then once I realized just how perfect not only was all of the casting, the acting, the directing, the execution, but on top of that, how perfectly note for note everything was about what it is like to be in a family that is in an addiction cycle. I mean, I'm getting verklempt even really thinking too hard about it. It's incredible. It's an incredible show. Highly recommended, highly recommended, highly recommended. Also, what's his name? Something Moss Bacharach. Kind of curious that, the casting agent also has the last name Bacharach. I'm just saying. I wonder what's up there.
Wait, you think there's nepotism involved with Eben Moss Bacharach?
The worst thing I could possibly say is maybe somebody recognized incredible talent in a person and married them and gave them an opportunity to showcase their incredible talent.
Okay. And is this related to Burt Bacharach?
I still don't know. All I noticed was that casting agent had.
You're not going to bring that into it. Okay, gotcha.
No.
Gotcha.
I mean, first of all, we're talking about the once and future thing on the Fantastic Four, so it's like my fealty is already pledged. I'm not going to.
We are going to talk spoilery about the Bear in After Talk with Brian. I am up to date. I am current because we're in the middle of season 3. So I think. Actually, no, they gave us the whole season 1. So I'm current in that we are finished with season 3. I just wish there was more coming. There are no more coming. And so as Brian progresses, we'll talk about that in After Talk. So be sure to become a patron and get that. My buried treasure is House of the Dragon. Just checking in on House of the Dragon. I want to describe it this way so far because I'm really enjoying this season more than I expected. And I'm finding that Eileen and I both are actually willing to watch it the day of. We're not like chomping at the bit at 6 o'clock. Let's get it going like we were with Game of Thrones in the early days. But it's captured a portion of the flavor of Game of Thrones that was kind of missing in season 6 and 7 of Game of Thrones. So tell me what you think of this description, Brian. What if a song you like captured a note and then decided for the next song, instead of doing the failed ending of the song, they just hold that note and say, yeah, we know a lot of you really like this note. Let's just hold that note and give you more of that note.
I am a tremendous fan of remixes, mashups, of covers, and songs that transform, whether it's from a major to a minor key or what have you. That's an unfair question, Mr. Merritt. And the answer is yes, I'm on board for whatever it is you're pitching.
Indeed. Well, folks, if you like the intrigue note and the battle note of Game of Thrones, keep on keeping on. Keep on listening for the House of the Dragon note because it'll be good. If you're wanting the full orchestra of Game of Thrones, that's not here. And also the other thing Eileen keeps pointing out is you also kind of know what's going to happen in the end to everybody. You just don't know exactly how they're going to get there. So there's that part too. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Brian, I have been slowly letting people read a novel over email.
Hold on. like somebody else's novel?
No, my own one I wrote.
Wait, so isn't that just releasing your novel?
I am slowly releasing my novel over email.
Okay, all right. And so, well, oh man, I would really like to read it. I just wish there was a simple way I could go and start reading it.
Give me money.
What?
That's all it takes. Not even that much, honestly. Like a couple of dollars, really. $70 a year. Sound fair?
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah.
Yeah. $7 a year better? Because you can do that too.
No, I'll give you unlimited money per year. I just want to know more about, like, what am I supporting?
So Free Tom newsletter gives you a free email from me where I talk about, this is a song I like. This is a TV show I like. Here's a picture of my puppy. This is the top 5 I did on YouTube. If you just pay money on top of that, every week you get a new chapter of Hungry Earth, which is a novel about a man who thought he was getting in a time machine, but actually got sent to an alternate planet.
Hold on. I don't think even privately you and I have talked about this.
No.
This is one of your new sci-fi books.
It's a sci-fi story. Exactly. Yeah.
How much are you comfortable sharing with me right now?
I mean, I don't want to be too spoilery because people don't like that, but I don't know. What do you want to know?
Well, you used one of my favorite words, seem. It seems to be a book about a thing. Could you maybe imply a little bit about what else it might be?
So the main character, Jasper, is recruited into a secret government program to build a time machine to beat the commies.
And this is current time or previous?
This is taking place in the early 60s, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the peak. Yeah.
Yeah. So he joins the team because he is an engineer and historian, double major, right? And so for a time machine, that's perfect, right? They need somebody who knows enough to help build the machine, but also knows a little about history because they're gonna try to go back in time. Turns out the machine doesn't do what they thought it did. They maybe used pounds instead of kilograms or something, but he ends up going to an alternate Earth at the exact same time in its development as our Earth. And he kind of gets stuck there.
But because he's a historian, he understands why they got where they are right now.
And because he's an engineer, he thinks he can fix the machine and get back.
Okay.
Here's the problem. There is no such thing as English in this world.
Can I tell you, this has been one of the things that I've always thought of is if you were to teleport back, let's say 300 years in the past, how would you speak Middle English or Old
He's
English?
not even going into the past. He's going to an alternate world where empires have never fallen.
Yeah.
Because there is no shortage of food. And that's explained in the book, and that's getting more spoilery than I feel comfortable. So thankfully he took Latin and can pretend to be Roman, but he's not in Rome, so he has to pretend to be an illegal immigrant.
So he has to figure out what strata of society it would be appropriate to know Latin.
He's in Washington, D.C. when the machine is activated. There is no Washington, D.C., so he arrives in the middle of a swamp, in the middle of a continent that has an empire that never fell, that never existed on the planet Earth that we live on.
Tom, this sounds wonderful. How on earth can I possibly follow this journey?
Go to freetomnewsletter.com and then upgrade to the paid subscription.
Okay.
I think we're at chapter 28, 27, something like that.
You don't have to answer, but how much attention do you pay to feedback from people who are reading chapter by chapter?
I don't get enough feedback. I would love to get more. Yeah, I pay a lot of attention to it for sure.
Love it.
Yeah. If you got something that you want us to talk about, cordkillers@gmail.com. If you want to get that book, go to freetomnewsletter.com. Let's scan the horizon, shall we, Brian?
No. Yes. Wait,
maybe.
No.
Send a scanning to aboard.
Scanning the horizon!
Consolidation Watch continues, and we finally have our first real, honest-to-goodness merger in the works. I've been talking about this phase of the streaming world for years, Brian. Paramount Global has agreed to merge with David Ellison's Skydance Media. So it's actually, in the business world, a complicated situation. National Amusements, which is owned mostly by Sherry Redstone, the daughter of Sumner Redstone, is the major shareholder of Paramount. Paramount used to be, there was separate CBS and Paramount. They're back together. It's Paramount, Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, CBS television. All of it is one. And that company is now being, National Amusements, which owns Paramount, is being bought by Skydance. And then they're going to merge Paramount into Skydance. Skydance is more of a content producer. They make animation, they make games, they make movies and TV shows. Many of the movie and TV shows they make feed Paramount. They've made movies that were distributed by Paramount. They've made television series that were distributed on Paramount properties like CBS, Nickelodeon, etc. Skydance also has a joint venture with the National Football League, which is not for nothing. And it is run by David Ellison, who is Larry Ellison of Oracle Software's son. And in the announcement of this merger, David Ellison was very eloquent about how everybody is trying to figure out how to fight the tech companies, right? How do you take a legacy studio and make it work against Netflix and Amazon and Apple? And Ellison is trying to strike himself as the Steve Jobs character in this story and saying, I am going to take the best of legacy, Paramount, team it with the best of tech, Skydance, and we will conquer the world together.
I don't doubt anything you just said, Tom. I just don't know which parts of it to trust or embrace.
You're not saying like anything I said was factually incorrect. You're like, but which part should I believe the person saying it, right?
Exactly. Like everything you said, I 100% believe is factually accurate. As my older brother of media, hey, what should I believe here?
Believe that Skydance has some tech chops, and this is a great sales pitch. Believe that Paramount has an amazing content library and some amazing folks working on content over there, and that'll be a big boon for Skydance. Believe that they're going to lay off a bunch of people, and that's going to make some nasty headlines because they're merging two big companies. I think the thing I would believe that they didn't say is this may not be the end of this. David Ellison's talking like Skydance wants to get bigger. So it may be that Skydance buys someone else. Maybe Skydance buys Warner. Maybe Skydance goes and buys somebody else and starts making Skydance into a bigger company. That seems to be what Ellison would like. I don't know that this solves all of Paramount's problems alone, though. So either that's going to have to happen or somebody's going to buy Skydance. And I feel like that is also another possibility. But this is just the first of the dominoes to fall, certainly not the last.
Well, help me out with the first part, which is how is this in the best interests of Paramount Plus to get absorbed by Skydance Media? I understand the Skydance Media has momentum, but Paramount Plus has the catalog.
Yeah.
How is this?
And Skydance will argue they have the tech chops to make Paramount Plus work as well as a Netflix does to market itself to digital audiences as well as they do their gaming and their animation and all of that. That they have more tech native people in their company that can make Paramount Plus appear less like a legacy media offering on streaming and more like a streaming native offering.
Okay, so Paramount Plus has the back catalog, Skydance has the momentum and the connections to roll forward. And as they roll forward, if we were to speculate wildly, irresponsibly, some might say, what might be the next step from here?
I would just go back to what I said about Skydance possibly buys somebody else. They certainly try to improve the marketing and functioning of Paramount Plus. they're probably going to cut costs. They're probably going to slash. That's why I mentioned the layoffs, but they also may cut other costs. Paramount has said it's going to continue to cut costs even as this merger closes. Because remember, everybody has agreed to the merger, but it hasn't actually happened yet.
Okay. Your witness.
Weird Ami asks where Skydance is incorporated in the U.S. Skydance is headquartered in Santa Monica, which I know TikTok is too, but Skydance is a U.S. company. Fire TV users in the U.S. should now start seeing ads before their screensavers start. Full screen ads have first been spotted by Cordkillers News, appear on pretty much every Fire OS device made since 2016. Amazon says if you leave your Fire TV for too long, Thurrott says if you leave your Fire TV for too long, a full screen ad will play for about 30 seconds to a minute before the screensaver starts. So you pause, a little while goes past, an ad plays, then the screensaver starts.
Should I? My preference is to just buy content and have no ads on it. Would it behoove me as we go through our library watches to not do that in order to get kind of a more grounded experience, Tom?
I don't know. That's an interesting question because what you're bringing up here is that you can avoid ads usually by paying or not watching something. However, if you're using a Fire TV device, you can now not avoid the ads if you pause. I guess never pause. Just always turn off is the only way to avoid an ad. And that's a very different situation, right? Especially for the people who are allergic to ads. You at least always have a choice. Like, I just won't use Tubi because it has ads, or I will pay for Netflix Premium so I don't get ads. Your choice here is don't use Fire OS stuff until other companies start doing this. But I bet Apple would be the last one to do it. I'm certain Google will let people do it, whether they would put it in Google TV, probably, because they're an ad company, but I don't know. Kevin Bacon did a Vanity Fair article and said that he was so fatigued with having to be famous in public that he hired a makeup artist to disguise him with fake teeth and fake nose and all that stuff. And he said, people were kind of pushing past me, not being nice. Nobody said, I love you. I had to wait in line to, buy coffee. I was like, this sucks. I want to go back to being famous.
So a version of this that I've heard from Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller fame was he's totally comfortable when everybody knows who he is because he knows exactly what behavior to be on. He's also totally comfortable when nobody knows who he is because he knows exactly what behavior to be on. What is deeply uncomfortable is when it's not clear whether or not people do or don't know who he is, because then he adopts one set of behaviors and then at the end of the interaction, they say, by the way, I'm a huge fan. And then that's when his heart sinks and he's like, well, crap. I would imagine that Kevin Bacon is describing a version of the exact same thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's when you're Kevin Bacon famous, like you have an entire fame algorithm named after you. It could be tiring. I get it. I get why he might want to say, like, what's it like to go through life not being recognized? But it sounds like he didn't like it. So there you go. He found his answer. Good for Kevin Bacon. Finally, the Motion Picture Association of Canada, which represents all the studios, including Netflix and Disney and Paramount and such, has claimed in a court filing that the requirement that the CTRC, which is like the FCC in Canada, is pushing forward that they have to pay a fee to fund local news. So in other words, they're saying you have to pay a fee to stream in Canada, and that fee will be used to fund local journalism and local news. Quote, is a discriminatory measure that goes far beyond what Parliament intended when they gave the CTRC its commission.
I don't really know what that means.
It means they don't want to pay the fee. They're saying, look, you can make us pay fees, but why should we pay for local news? That's not our problem. That's what they're saying.
I agree with that. But then, like, really to have a proper conversation about this, we'd have to talk about the difference between, government sponsored media versus private sponsored media.
It's one of those things where two good intentions were put together, but they don't necessarily go together, is my take on it. I think it's a good intention to say, hey, if you're going to operate in Canada, we have a tradition in Canada of having requirements to promote Canadian content. And so we're going to collect a fee from you to promote Canadian content. Second good idea. Local news is not as well developed. There is a market deficiency right now. Maybe it's temporary, maybe it's not. We, the government, can subsidize the development of local news to try to keep it on its feet until it makes it through this rough patch. Let's marry those two. Let's take the fee to support Canadian content. Local news is Canadian content. Let's give the fee to the local news folks, right? And what Netflix and all those folks are saying is, we have lots of Canadian content. We already are shooting things in Canada and putting Canadian shows on our streaming platforms. And if you want to require us to do more of that, great, but don't make us pay for someone else's content.
Yeah. The only way for me to engage with this beyond this point is to get into the larger argument about how much a government.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
that's a whole separate thing. But Canadians, let us know. Cordkillers@gmail.com. Where do you stand on this particular issue? And then we may read your email in chatter.
You've got mail.
We do not have a very large number of emails because we just recorded the show on Thursday, but a couple to note here. Yaru let us know that they're the one person using YouTube Premium to keep videos going with their screen off.
Yes, I knew there was one. Thank you, Yaru.
I actually do it sometimes too, so you're not alone. And Mark emailed us to suggest Sports Night be put on the list for potential full experience treatment.
Remind me of, or should I look it up? What Sports Night is?
I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm going to look it up. But it's like a classic '90s television show,
sort of like about ESPN Zone, or
yeah. It had Sabrina Lloyd in it, so a little Sliders connection there.
I'll tell you this much: if you are not paying full attention to the full experience, get on board, because we're onto something here, and we intend to assemble all of these pieces into gigantic hour-and-a-half long experiences on every single show. It's really great.
Indeed. In fact, the Munsters lowest rated episode is the next episode of Full Experience, coming later this week on Wednesday or earlier if you're a patron. So keep an eye out for Grandpa Leaves Home, Season 1, Episode 14. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.